All right, so crypto market updates. I just want to preface this market update and just remind everybody, like I always do every week, we're in a bubble, right? So that's the important thing. So it's just really, really important that everybody is aware that we are in a crypto bubble, right? And that a crypto bubble or a bubble is like a ticking time bomb, right? The clock is ticking. The bubble can pop at any moment. My hypothesis, and I like bubbles too, right? You make fortunes in bubbles. They're great. And then when they pop, you can make fortunes in the bear trends too if you know how to trade them, right? So my hypothesis has been and still is that the bubble will pop when Bitcoin turns bear, right? So a lot of Poloniex coins, a lot of altcoin markets have gone up ridiculous percentage gains. Bitcoin has gone up to ridiculous levels as well, but a lot more modest than altcoins, right? If you look at the breakout point, it's not like it broke out and it went up 10,000% or thousands of percent or whatever like we're seeing in some markets, right? So there wasn't anything like that, but it's also a liquid market, bigger market, and it's also taken 2 years, or at least a good solid 1 year bull trend, over a year, to get to this point, right? So we're in the parabolic phase now. What we don't know is when the bubble will pop, right? So I always remind people, if you're making life-changing amounts of money, you don't necessarily have to sell the top to take hard profit out, especially if you're making a lot of money, right? Because you'll feel a lot less stressed if you take hard profit out along the way. You'll feel a lot less stressed when the bubble pops. You'll have less juggling and managing, and I'll preface again, like I'm never gonna go all out of crypto, but I do want to sell at least 50% of my bags, and I have some that's investment wise, and then I need to keep some bags for trading, right? So here's the thing with Bitcoin right now. We're still kind of at a bit of a crossroads. Like if we break down below this particular area right here, like 2600, right? Then that could be cause for an exit of closing out my long position, so on and so forth. Possibly even cleaning up some altcoin bags, right? You don't have to necessarily, now if you're going to clean up altcoin bags, often when Bitcoin dumps, as you've seen before, and we've had a few test runs. This is what I like about these big corrections. It gives everybody a test run of what it's going to feel like when the bubble pops, right? You get to see everything in a sea of red, dollar-wise, when this happened, and then a sea of red, dollar-wise, when this happened, right? Now, what you don't necessarily want to do, like you could cut out of your Bitcoin long and stuff like that. What you don't necessarily want to do is just dump all your altcoins in the red necessarily, right? There are opportunities to sell on bounces instead when they turn green, right? It's not like you're gonna snap your fingers and the next thing you know, the bubble's going to pop and the price is going to be all the way down in the gutter, right? Like it's as you can see, it's a process, right? Like this took 3 days of dumping, 4 if you count the retracement, right? 3 days of dumping, right? And then and if it rolled over again, then it would show that, okay, we're likely not breaking into new highs, and they'll produce a head and shoulders. So that's still on the table, but I'm still holding my long. It's still bullish until proven otherwise. And of course, we have this kind of zone right here. Let's just say like around the 2800 area, right? I mean, if we could break 2800, then it's looking pretty good for another push up. But my targets, and this is the most ideal situation that I'm looking for personally, and why I've been holding and just playing this and accumulating some more Bitcoin on this volatility through scalping and through hedging and then longing the bounce play. I end up with more Bitcoin through doing that than if I just held and did nothing, right? So that's the good news of trading some of this volatility. And altcoins are still going up. My altcoins bags are still going up higher. So I'm really walking a tight line right now, a really, really fine line on a tight rope. And I realize it's a delicate dance, because you don't want to go all out or start going out too soon on, if we still have more bubble left, right? Because I can tell you the majority of my altcoin bags have increased in Bitcoins and dollars since last week, right? Just by doing nothing, just by holding them. So I didn't just like automatically sell them and so on and so forth. But this is why when I see something like ICN go up and I'm up like 600% Bitcoin wise, and I bought it at 36 cents and now it's at $5, and they've got a tech release in August, and you say, well, Rocky, like why would you just sell half your ICN? Why wouldn't you just hold it till closer to tech release? What if it goes to $10? What if it goes to $30? What if it goes to $50? Could, right? You never know. Some of these markets have really surprised me. The answer to that is just selling into strength and just taking profit along the way. That's really the answer, because we don't know the precise timing of when the music's going to end, right? But I highly, highly doubt, and I could be wrong, right? There's always room for error. I highly doubt that if Bitcoin turns bear, that altcoins are going to stay bullish. Now, I think that there will be altcoins that will have their own events and have their own unique independent bull runs based on their own events. There's always going to be stuff getting pumped on the exchanges and this and that. But all the markets as a whole is like one great sea of coins, right? It's like everything's been going up, right? So it's not just like a one-off, this is going up and that's going up and maybe that one and the rest is down or the rest is sideways. It's like a lot of things have been going up. Like most markets and coins have been going up. And so when Bitcoin has been adding to that, because they gain over Bitcoin, because most people can only trade altcoins over Bitcoin, right? Most of these tokens, and like, we could talk about the highly liquid altcoins that you can trade against dollars, right? So, obviously you can trade Ethereum against dollars, Litecoin, some other ones. But most altcoins are only traded against Bitcoin, and you could trade them against Ethereum too, but the most liquid altcoin markets are the Bitcoin pairings, not the Ethereum pairings. Ethereum does ICOs really well. It's the king of ICOs, and the king of programmable blockchains, but it's not the king of, it's still not the reserve cryptocurrency of trading and the most liquid markets, right? Bitcoin still has that going for it, even though it's got its own fundamental issues and so on and so forth, right? So, so the thing is that because they're only trading it against Bitcoin, well, naturally, if they're trading altcoins and the altcoins are going up and going through their cycles or whatever, while with Bitcoin going up and then altcoins gaining over Bitcoin, that increases the impact dollar wise. So if you were someone who is a trader really concerned about the dollar value, and all traders should have at least some concern over the dollar value, because that's going to translate into your actual purchasing power, right? I mean, sure, you could accumulate Bitcoins, and for the most part, when in all of 2015 and 16, I've just been trading to accumulate Bitcoin. I haven't really been hyper focused on the dollar value, but because Bitcoin is up really, really high, the best time to invest in Bitcoin when it's a store of value is obviously down here, and then anywhere where the trend is healthy. But once it goes parabolic, you can't, it's a store of value per se for the earlier participants, but for the later participants, I wouldn't necessarily call it a store of value at this moment in time per se, because when it pops, it's not really going to store your value very well, right? But over the long haul, it's been good, just based on scarcity, and obviously the more people who participate, the more demand there is, and that puts buying pressure on the supply, right? So I'm really watching Bitcoin for this. And, a lot of people are very hyped about Ethereum, and a lot of people have been making a lot of money off of Ethereum, and I've made some money off of Ethereum, and it's great. I'm happy for Ethereum, but Ethereum is even in an even worse bubble than Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is actually one of the most modest markets right now, believe it or not. Ethereum is in like extreme bubble territory. So I wouldn't, can it still go up? Sure, it can still go up. It's actually gone up higher than I anticipated. But here's what I see right now happening in an Ethereum, and I might write a blog post on this. We're in an ICO bubble right now, right? In 2014 and 2013, we had an altcoin bubble, but a lot of the coins and markets were kind of more like, proof of work coins. It was almost like a mining bubble. Like everybody was mining at the time. Everyone was trying to mine the latest, proof of work coins, or the latest proof of stake coins, or whatnot. And they're all basically clones. A lot of them were just clones of other projects, bigger projects. But now we've got this ICO mania bubble, and for good reason. I mean, people are making money hand over fist, right? Companies and people are raising millions of dollars with much less red tape than if they were to go through a traditional way of raising money. Now, I say it's probably a gray zone as far as regulations are concerned, right? It's a gray zone, and the regulators haven't stepped in and said anything, but even like some heavy-handedness from regulators could pop the bubble as well, right? So be mindful of that too. Like one fundamental wrench, like something like that could definitely start to pop the bubble, right? And I'm not obviously I'm not against ICOs or whatnot. I think there's a lot of probably a lot of ICOs that'll end up being garbage, or just producing vaporware or pipe dreams, or a whole lot of nothing, right? It's very similar to the IPO bubble for the .com bubble of the 90s. And, so it's another tech bubble, right? It's another internet tech bubble is what we're in. And, there are pros and cons to ICOs. I mean, the pros are that, the barrier to entry for anybody to invest is low. It's a meritocracy. You choose. You don't need to be a quote unquote qualified investor and have, $1 million of net worth to participate, right? So they definitely create they definitely stonewall smaller investors from getting in on 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 high return investments and the legacy markets, right? And they say, okay, well, maybe they're not smart enough to invest or blah blah. And so like I don't know, maybe it's that, or maybe it's just the rich keeping their tools for getting rich for themselves. I don't know, right? I don't know what the reason being is, right, for that. And I don't really have an opinion either way. And so but there's also a flip side. The flip side is that, oh, and the regular retail investors, they generally get mutual funds or whatever, which is just like a basket of stuff that everybody has. It's like this generic basket of stuff that produces, very modest returns every year, and so on and so forth, right? And even that could all pop. We've even all that could end up being a big fugazi, right? I mean, we've seen all kinds of shenanigans on Wall Street and stuff like that with the 2008 housing crisis and stuff. So, I mean, like, how much of anything can you really trust, really, out there? I personally really don't trust anybody with my money, actually. Even, I'm kind of digressing here a little bit, but even if you're pulling hard money out and putting it into the bank, you also need to realize that even that is a trade. You're betting on that bank to keep your money safe. That's a trade. And it also comes with risk. And guess what? Banks are only insured, like in Canada, they're only insured up to $100,000, right? And then there's gold. You could have physical gold. And that's obviously that stood the test of time for 5,000 years. So for me, that definitely holds some weight, right, as a recognized store of value. But it's also a market too, with fluctuation and volatility. And we did have a gold bubble several years ago that popped and lost. It ended up losing a lot of value. So anybody who's buying gold at like $1,800 or whatever would have lost a bunch of money. But anyways, I don't want to digress into too many things. And obviously, like, I'm not a financial advisor, right? And this is what I'm just telling you is just my own personal opinions based on what I've, just based on my own research and stuff. But it's just my own personal opinions, and take it for that. I could be full of it. I could be wrong on all of this, right? So everyone has to do their own due diligence, and that's the thing with crypto, right? Crypto is kind of like be your own bank, do your own due diligence, right? I just kind of consider myself like a guide. I share people my trading strategies and tell people what I'm trading, and that's about it. I can't give people personal advice, and nor do I want that responsibility, really. So anyways, aside from that, everything is a trade, right? Even real estate. You want to buy land? That's a trade too. What if you're in a real estate bubble? Apparently Canada's in one right now, right? The States went through one, several years ago, and then we saw what happened when that popped, right? A lot of people ended up homeless and so on and so forth. But anyways, I don't want to digress too much away from crypto, but I think it's just important that everybody understands the big picture and looks at the big picture and plans accordingly to the big picture, and that there is no such thing as a sure bet, right? There's no such thing as like something that is quote unquote absolute safe, right? And when you're a trader, you're just constantly doing a juggling act. Now, I don't want this to sound bleak at all. I'm definitely not trying to discourage people, but I always just want to make sure that everyone is very crystal clear on all the risks, and that we are in a bubble, because it's fun when everyone's making money, but all right. So I don't want to digress. I don't want to digress too much into the fundamentals. I know people want to talk about the technicals, but I'm going to, we keep on getting new students who come in and stuff. And even just to remind old students, I just want to keep on, every week I'm going to talk about how we're in a bubble. And, It's important as a trader to identify what it is that you do know and what it is that you don't know. And I do know that we're in a bubble. That I can say for a fact. What I don't know is when it's going to pop, right? So I know certain characteristics of what to look for. And, hopefully I'll be quick on the trigger to be able to deal with things. And you know what? It's best to not try to deal with it all at once last minute. It's good. It's a good thing to take some hard profit, like I've been saying all this time. You don't have to just sell the top. You can let some ride and you can take some hard profit. And that's one of the reasons why I took some money off for, ICN and such. So basically, Ethereum's even more exaggerated than Bitcoin, right? Oh, this is what I was going to talk about. Sorry. So here's the thing with Ethereum, what I see happening right now on the fundamental level. So the Ethereum price keeps on going up and up and up and up and up, like ridiculous levels. Like here you see a nice little trend line, right? But if you put it on a 1D, this just looks crazy, right? Like look at that. This is pretty nuts. If you look at it on the US dollar amount, I mean, this thing's just a beast, right? Like, if I measure from the bottom to the top, for something to go up 6,000% in a few months, right? This is pretty epic. So the remedy, the solution to dealing with the bubble is just scale out some hard profit along the way, right? Maybe you just sell a little bit every week, right? Even sell into strength, even if the bubble doesn't pop, and keep trading, keep doing whatever. It doesn't have to be like an offer on switch all at once, all whatever. And if the bubble lasts like much longer than any of us could even imagine, if like 1 year later I'm still giving speeches on how we're in a bubble every week, well, not only will that start to feel pretty stupid, but at least you take hard profit out, right? Nobody knows, right? At least there's some diversification and stuff. And you never know, right? If we're like ramping up on the S curve of, mainstream user adoption, if we're at like 20 million users and we're still ramping up to our way to like 500 million users, then who the heck knows how long the bubble can last, right? So they don't necessarily have to be fleeting. I mean, the bubble in 2013 was definitely very, very fleeting, right? I mean, it lasted a month pretty much, for Bitcoin anyways. And then there was a lot of crazy volatility and stuff, right? So it's major bull trend. The front side lasted a month, right? Well, obviously, we're going longer than a month now, right? So there's definitely some more money and firepower coming in. But basically, like what I wanted to say with Ethereum is the reason why I think the price of Ethereum keeps on going up so high is because we are in an ICO bubble. And so what that's doing is you have these ICOs every single day, every single week that are raising millions and millions and millions of dollars. 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, Bancor raised 150 million. And what does that do? Think about that on a fundamental level. What does that do? That pulls Ethereum supply off of the markets, right? It pulls the supply off of the markets and locks it up in the hands of some whales, right? So it's supply and demand. And then people want to participate in another ICO. Okay, so think about this. You've got one ICO, they raised $50 million. There's $50 million of Ethereum that's locked up. The next day you have another ICO, they want to raise some money. Everyone else wants to FOMO and chase that ICO. Well, they need some Ethereum to do it. So they go out, they buy some Ethereum off the market, and they throw it into that ICO, and that ICO locks it up. So now you're pulling Ether off the market, locking it up in these big whale giant ICOs, right? And you keep on getting more and more and more ICOs. So people just keep on needing to buy more and more Ethereum, because guess what? When you buy Ethereum and you shovel it into an ICO, you no longer have that Ether anymore, right? So you want to participate in the next ICO, you need to buy some more Ether. Where do you have to do that? You go on the open markets and do that. Unless you're a whale that's just sitting on tons of Ether to burn, you just got to keep on buying up more supply every time you want to participate. Right? And so that creates an increase. The ICOs create an increase in demand, right? And it pulls supply off of the markets and locks it up. So that's why Ethereum is in this extreme bubble right now, because of the ICO bubble, right? And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then the price of Ethereum goes up, and now people get more media attention, and they're like, oh, Ethereum was an ICO. You could buy it at 35 cents. Now it's at $300, $400. Okay, I got to find the next Ethereum. I'm going to buy some. I'm going to buy some Ether, and I'm going to buy the next Ethereum. And, and it's just snowballs, right? And so it's going to keep happening until it starts to escalate and tip in the other direction. And so how would that look? Well, how do you do the reverse? How does the Ethereum bubble pop, right? Well, the Ethereum bubble pops when one of these mega ICOs, like let's say Bancor, decides to take a massive dump on the markets, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know who half these people are. I mean, there's all kinds of people coming out of the blue. Probably people who don't even care about Ethereum, who just want to raise millions of dollars. And when one of these big ICOs starts to liquidate on the markets, if they don't do it on OTC markets, and if they just start to liquidate, right, and they start dumping all these millions of dollars worth of Ether that they have, then guess what happens? All of a sudden, all these other companies, all these other ICOs, they're now losing dollar value. And now they're sitting on millions of dollars of Ether. And if it starts to look like it's hitting a bear trend and the bubble pops, then guess what? Guess what happens? They now need to unload their bags too in order to hedge their dollar value. Otherwise, hey, we raised $30 million in Ether, but yeah, the Ether you raised it at was at a $300 valuation. How much is your $30 million going to be worth if Ether goes down to $30 again? So now they got to dump their bags too and unload their bags. And what could end up happening is we could see this cascade effect of, a lot of these ICOs basically just panic selling their bags and racing each other to the bottom. Right, so the very thing that pumped the market up into this bubble could be the pin that pops the bubble and end up making the bubble pop, and it'll escalate very quickly on the way down. And believe me, bear trends, like we're not in a bear trend yet, so we've been having dumps, but these dumps are cute, right? This is like, these are like little Mickey Mouse dumps. Right, you haven't seen nothing yet. You want to see. let's go take a look at the flash crash that happened at GDAX. Let's just take a look at this. Right. Let me. Was it ETH BTC or the other one? Was this one USD? All right. So obviously, whoever sold their bags was interested in getting some dollars out, not Bitcoin. Maybe they weren't crypto people. Who knows, right? Maybe they weren't like diehard ETH people. But here's what happened, right? Some YOLO whale, and who knows who it was? We don't know, because you don't know who the other participants are, right? Even Ethereum from the Genesis block, which is probably Vitalik's Ethereum, moved the other day. Even that moved the other day, right? Hey, we don't know. For all you know, Vital could have done. I'm not making accusations. We don't know. But you don't know who the other participants are. But we do know that Ether moved from the Genesis block, right? So here's what happened. Basically, one whale took a massive dump. They did a market order for millions of dollars in Ethereum, right down to about the 260 area. And what that did is it triggered 800 stop orders. It created a cascade snowball effect of all these stop orders that were here, and they didn't get executed till the order was done. So you can have, listen, like this is, I personally, you use stops if you want. I haven't used hard stops since 2015 because of slippage, right? That's just me, right? Everyone's got their own thing. I don't like them myself. That's just me. But so basically, if you had stops anywhere here in Ethereum, none of them would have been triggered at any of these levels. Not a single one. Because this entire order book got destroyed in one bite. Like $100 of value got eaten in one single order. But I bet you there was a whole bunch of stops here. And then all those stops triggered. Boom, 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 boom. They're all now set in order of so they're all waiting. Once this is done, then they start to trigger and sell, which triggers more stops. They're all market orders. So boom, 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 triggers more stops. Next thing you know, you've got this huge cascade effect. Flash crash down to 10 cents. Right? Down to 10 cents. So that's basically what happened. 800 stop orders got triggered by one whale taking a massive dump. And we have no idea who that whale was. Was it one of these ICOs who just wanted to hedge into some cash? It could be. High probability. Was it one of the founders? I would assume that the founders would be a little more respectful and maybe not just market order and do something like that. I would assume that, but we can't assume anything about anybody in these markets, right? We don't know anything about any of the other traders and participants and investors. It's all just hypothetical speculation. For all you know, they could all be pumpers. We have no idea, right? Unless you're there watching them trade and you can see their intent and stuff, we have no idea. So this is a taste. This is a taste of the kind of wreckage that you can end up seeing in a real bear trend, right? So this is I think this was like a warning shot, personally. And anyways, it completely destroyed this chart. I mean, this chart is garbage now. You can't do anything with the GDAX chart. Oh, and if anybody was margin trading, they would have been liquidated, and then those liquidated positions would have had to be sold, and that would have added to it. Pure carnage, absolute wreckage. Anyways, so I don't want to sound alarm bells or anything like that. I'm just preparing people, right? I'm preparing people for what a bear trend, the kind of insanity you could expect when the bubble pops, the type of thing that you could end up seeing, right? And the strategy for this is if you set some super low buy orders, then you'd be one happy camper, wouldn't you? Right? Imagine getting some ETH at 30 cents. What a deal. Right? You could be an instant millionaire if you had enough buy orders here. Boom. Right? But, that's kind of like winning a lottery. You got to pick which exchange is it going to be and is it going to happen? And like this doesn't happen all the time, right? These kind of flash crashes. But when we hit the bear trend, we might start to see some more of these. When we start to see the cascading, escalating effect, we might start to see some more of these. So now the question lies, what do I think of all of the ETH-based tokens that I've been accumulating and making money off of? I like them because I can store them on a Trezor. So it means I can store a lot of money offline and not just have them sitting on exchanges. If they were all different altcoins, I mean, I'm in a lot of markets right now. I'm in a lot of markets, right? And if I had to download wallets for every single one of those core wallets and make sure that it's synced properly and make sure that they don't hard fork or that it's properly updated, upgraded, this and that, I got to pay attention all the fun. I mean, that's like a headache for me, right? So I like things that I can store on a Trezor, obviously. Just so happens we're in an ICO bubble, makes it very convenient for me to buy all these ETH-based tokens. My hypothesis is I think probably 90% of them could end up being like garbage in the future, but I don't know. Maybe some of them prove me wrong. Maybe I'm investing in all the next future Googles and I don't even know it, right? Who knows? Time will tell. What I do know is I definitely want to be in some hedging into some cold hard cash, and I'll keep a few gems and stuff like that, and probably maybe I might keep a little of everything investment wise to see where it goes, because there's a lot of new projects and stuff. But I don't know, when the bubble pops, and really I think it's all up to Bitcoin. I don't really think it's up to Ethereum. I really think it's up to Bitcoin, because as much and Bitcoin's looking all right now, so that's good. As much as Ethereum is kind of doing really, really well right now, when Bitcoin dumps, even Ethereum gets skittish, and even Ethereum dumps. Bitcoin dumps 30%, Ethereum will dump 50 dollar wise, right? So there's not really going to be a heck of a lot of good dollar hedges in crypto, right? And then you look at CoinMarketCap, and like I said, this was like a nice little taste, right? You look at CoinMarketCap and then everything's in the red. All the altcoins are in the red. Anyways, we don't know when the bubble's going to pop. So, but it's good to be prepared. And in the perfect world scenario, I would just love for us to tag 4,000. I mean, this is why I've been patient. I'm leaning towards this, probably like 60% ratio. I think we're at a crossroads. If we break down this trend line here, we're definitely at a crossroads, and then it turned into head and shoulders. But I hedged, I bought the dep. I'm lock and loaded, right? Maybe I'm greedy, but I've also learned that there's a fine line in a bubble between greed and patience, right? And I've learned in this current bubble that impatience means you miss out on making bucket tons of money, right? So it truly is walking a tightrope. So if we start to break the 3,000 area and go to 4,000, then more hard profit is coming off of the table, right? Bigger chunks out of the markets, period. And then I can chase and play the roller coaster ride and the bear trend. We'll have a lot of fun with the volatility and stuff, right? So, okay, so there was a market yesterday that I did end up buying. Someone had mentioned it. RLC. I ended up buying some yesterday, and we did a kind of quick analysis at the end of yesterday's update. I haven't sent out an alert or whatever. I'm going to be working on a market report as well. So this is kind of similar to Golem. And there's another method to my madness too, with accumulating all of these ETH-based tokens. Poloniex hasn't listed a new coin or token in a while, right? And we're like in a major ICO bubble. And so all the hype is around ETH-based tokens right now. And if they do end up listing a coin, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be one of the ICO tokens. And we know what happens when a market gets listed on Poloniex. It goes nuts, right? Just go back and look at Pascal, right? And see what happened to that market. So, being well diversified and spread out a bunch of across a whole bunch of them. I mean, they're all up in profit, right? A lot of them are up, doubles. Some of them are up, even higher than that. Some of them less. So I bought some of this. And like I said, I don't go like super, super heavy. But I cashed out, like I said, I cashed out some ICN, right? I sold 50% of my bags. I made some really, really nice profit on ICN. I mean, going from 35 cents to over $5, that's some really, really nice returns. I had to take some profit off the table for that. And when I do, then my rule of thumb is, okay, I'll keep some of that. Yeah, I'm recording this. I'll keep some of that in Bitcoin, and I will I'll reinvest into some other low caps, mid caps, and see if we can continue the cycle. And I've been doing this cycle on these mid-cap cycles. When I close out profit on one, I scoop up and buy some other cheap ones until those pop off, and I just keep on doing that. Sell the expensive to buy the cheap. Sell the expensive to buy the cheap. I just keep doing it, right? So this one looks interesting project. And then, as I mentioned in that trade alert, I also bought some quantum resistance ledger, right? And these are like patience plays, right? So you'll notice I don't buy these and okay, I'm all out at 30. I made 40%. Woo. They're not liquid enough for that, right? I mean, this would, turn into chaos if I did that. I'm ICN, 35 cents to $5. Do the math. That's some big percentage gains. So I go for, I'll buy the mid caps and I'll talk about them. But I'm not interested in taking little Mickey Mouse moves on them. I want big, higher percentages, hundreds of percent minimum, right? Hundreds of percent, big moves. That's when I start to take profit in these markets, right? Otherwise, if I'm trading a liquid market, like Bitcoin, then yeah, smaller percentages. If you can make 30% move on Bitcoin, that's pretty good. Ethereum's up a ton. If you were to do something with that, then 30% would probably be good or whatever. But for these mid caps, no, it's got to be big moves. I mean, I didn't catch it down here, but I mean, look how ridiculous this gets, right? You go up here, next thing, oops. One sec. So I missed out on that move. It would have been great, but 500% in a very short period of time. That's ridiculous. So those are kind of like the kind of percentages that I'm gunning for, right? So you all pretty much know the markets that I'm in right now, and I do review quite frequently on that. So I would just want to focus more on the bigger general picture of the bubble and the markets and stuff, and kind of just look at it all through a world's a 360 view, right? Do I think Loon is an interesting buy right now? Well, I have some Loon. I don't know if I might still be down a little bit on it. This one's the least performer, the weakest performer that I've bought, but it's just basically a lot of sideways. It's cheap. It's cheap. That's all I can say, right? It's cheap. I like to buy cheap tokens, and then when people get all hyped about them, then all I have to do is sit back and eat popcorn, and that's it. Makes my trading decisions very, very easy, right? I just have to think of when I want to take profit. That's about it, right? And Edge is actually aside from ICN, out of those mid cap tokens, I think Edge is definitely. Oh yeah, okay. So ICN and Golem GNT are definitely my biggest performers. I mean GNT is by far my best performing token right now that I'm still riding. 2 cents to 60 cents. That's ridiculous. ICN right now is number 2, and I had to take some profit on that. And I guess number 3 right now for tokens performers would be Edgeless. I'm up 210% Bitcoin wise, and dollar wise. Let's see what that is. I have no idea what that is, but cool thing is I bought it on opening day when it hit the exchanges, so I got in at the bottom. I was the bottom dollar wise, so I bought it down here. Wow, these crypto markets have me spoiled. This is ridiculous. Okay, so dollar wise I'm up like 500% or whatnot. So it's pretty good dollar returns. Loon is pretty much the worst performer so far. Big Crystals has been getting some attention. This is one of my Poloniex picks. It's I bought it earlier, cheaper or whatever. I basically just want to get in before the herd. I was like, you know what? Anything that hasn't rallied hard on Poloniex that's still cheap is probably a good buy. That was my logic. I saw coins with complete garbage fundamentals going through the roof, making 10,000+% gains, right? So I was like, all right, what's gonna be the next round? I gotta think of the future. Forget about chasing all that other noise. What other cheap stuff hasn't gone up yet, So we're kind of volume increase, butting up. See a lot of traders on Twitter starting to get very interested in this right now. So that's a good sign, when you see other big traders starting to get interested. They're having a tech release soon or something like that. So those 3 Poloniex picks at the time was like Big Crystals, Counterparty, and AMP scenario. And I'm up about a double on AMP now, so that was good. Okay, so let's all right. We have a question on RADS. Would I buy it now? It's not super liquid, but I see it could have some potential to break out. It does have some possible breakout potential here. And when these kind of liquid markets do break out, they make they can make big moves, right? I mean, measure it from the bottom, but let's just call that a breakout point there, right? I mean, it could pop a really big move. Maybe it breaks apart. Interesting thing with Big Crystals, like on a fundamental level, is that supply is fixed and deflationary, as in they do a burn. They do have a new game tech release. If the game becomes popular, then obviously the Big Crystals have utility in the game. It's kind of like this RPG type of card game, and they've teamed up with this really big, I think British media company or something like that, gaming company or whatever. RADS. I actually tested the game out. It was I found it was fun, and you can actually collect collectible cards that are stored on the blockchain that you can trade for value and this and that. So that's kind of interesting. Rads. Yeah, Rads definitely looks like it's ramping up, right? And this for me kind of feels kind of very catch-22, because on the one hand I look at it and it's making higher lows and it looks like it's ramping up, and it hasn't done straight vertical parabolic candles yet, right? So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, it's up like 700%, and it pains me to buy anybody's bags at those levels. So even though it could go up, based on just my own personal trading rules, I'm staying out of it. All right, let's look at ICN. We've got a lot of people talking about ICN right now. I guess someone dumped. It wasn't me. Oh boy. Bam. Wow. Okay. I mean, this is the hard thing, you know. Did I did I create the top? Did I sell the top? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm still holding half of my bags. But I would just say that, you know, if you're taking profit on something, you know, you can do things a little more sophisticated than just basically just, you know, dumping, right? You can do a limit order and just sell into strength. So but, you know, it creates good volatility for bounce plays. You know, trade it. That's what I say. Big dumps. So what? I'm still holding on to some ICN. You know, yeah, I've lost some, you know, some dollar value or some Bitcoin value on the stuff I'm holding. I'm very satisfied with the profits I've made on this. This is actually, you know, performed much better than I even thought. So that's good. Possible bounce play, right? And yeah, some people probably bought the top and then freaked out when it started to roll over, and then you could kind of see like a little bit of a head and shoulders here in the 1 hour, right? But, you know, have a big correction, and if it's truly bullish leading up to the tech release, well, we've seen other markets have massive ugly corrections too, and recover, and then consolidate a larger pattern, and then break out, right? So I'm not saying that's going to happen. It could definitely be the backside of the trend. I don't think I'm just going to buy back in or trade it personally. Although what's the percentage on that dump? Let's measure from the top to the bottom. See how much firepower this has. It's like 34%, 37%. You know, on Wall Street, you know, Bloomberg would be doing backflips and freaking out. Oh, it went down 37%. It's like in crypto, it's like, yeah, that's cute. You know, 37%, whatever. Easy come, easy go. You know, oh, there's probably a bounce play here. You know, if not, maybe like a small one. I'm probably not going to trade it, but you know, you could probably squeeze like a 20% move or something on a bounce for fun. So yeah, possible we'll see a little bounce play here and through this zone. Nice big red candle. They may, you know, might, but I don't know how long I would hold a dip like that per se. It depends. There it goes. It could V bottom and then recover, maybe make a larger consolidation pattern. You know, that could be possible. It could be like a higher low too. Right? Multiple possibilities of things that can happen here. So, boom. All right, so if more and more ICOs cash out because ETH goes bear, they are also securing their funds in order to be able to build the projects. Therefore, they are also making their dollar value stronger, more solid, don't they? In a way, they would take independence from the trading bubble, which is very important in order to secure longer term work effort to give birth to real projects. Maybe ETH is the only dangerous boy to trade in that situation. Yeah, it's definitely possible. And the thing is too is like we have no idea of like what all the intentions are of these ICOs too. Like some of them might be all kumbaya and benevolent and want to help blockchain and believe in the tech and all this stuff. Some of them might just be pump and dumpers, right? Some of them might just be like, hey, you know. So, all right, so just just to finish it off, obviously looks like actually, I'll finish it off. I want to get a recording in with oh no, I already talked about ICN. Okay, sorry, could I stop the recording there? Yeah, so we're still making higher lows, and that's really what I've been watching. Even though we've had these little corrections, every time we have a correction, I always ask myself, did it make a higher low? And if the answer is yes, then there's nothing I should be doing. I should just hold my position. That's it. So I'll polish off with Litecoin. And then what we'll do is maybe, because I was sick for a few days, so maybe what I'll do is open up like a new session tomorrow, like a weekend session, where we just do a full Q&A, where you guys just drive the markets. You could ask about any market you want, preferably markets we've never even looked at in a while or at all. And we might even find some gems. We could do some live fundamental and technical analysis at some point tomorrow. I'm not quite sure the time yet, but I will send out an email for that. And I'll just look at Litecoin quickly, and then I'll polish it off with that. Let's look at Poloniex. Litecoin. Well, one second. Well, the thing with Litecoin is it's way too expensive for me to ever want to buy it. That's the problem with Litecoin. But you know what I am seeing here? There's some potential here on the Bitcoin charts here for a double top. Some potential, but it could also, just be a consolidation pattern. I mean, we've got, we've definitely got some higher lows. Sellers have stepped in, but Litecoin's got a lot going for it fundamentally because of the Lightning Network, segregated witness, all this kind of stuff. Last time it popped up here, had a big retrace. I mean, %50 retrace. That was a pretty big retrace move. But I do like the fundamentals on it. It's got a lot going for it. It's a pretty solid blockchain right now, right? Because of all that. It's technically got better tech than Bitcoin. And it's a very, very liquid altcoin market. It's got good distribution. You know, if I had some investment wise, I'd keep some, but I just can't buy at these levels. It's much too high for me. So $47. But on the flip side, you know, if it were to make another move up, who knows? You know, maybe I say it's too expensive and then it breaks out and it goes to $100. So you could, you know, if it start to consolidate in this larger pattern here, you know, and then we broke out. I mean, it's only made 2 points of contact here. You know, if you cut the wicks off, then, you know, more points of contact, so it'd probably just cut the wicks off like that. You know, it could be winding up for a larger, you know, if it bounced to here and then we start to get this larger consolidation pattern, then, you know, there could be a good breakout play just for a trade, specifically for a trade. Investment wise, meh, you know. I mean, look at 2014. Litecoin went to $50, and then after the bear trend, 2015 in accumulation, Litecoin hit 80 cents. Right, that's a huge move down from $50 to 80 cents, $55 to 80 cents. So from the gutter it came, and from the gutter it returned, and you know, now it's back up in the clouds. So something, basically something to keep your eyes on if we start to consolidate more. All right, folks. So that's about an hour. That's it for today's market update. Cheers.